Hey everybody, welcome back to the ToadieWee Workshop. This end grain cutting board project starts 3 months ago. I thought I had it all planned out, but my first hiccup happened when I went to look for my featherboard, couldn't find the featherboards. So a featherboard, a zero clearance insert, a garage workshop remodel, and table saw crosscut sled video later, I've finally made some progress. This cutting board's a lamination of a whole bunch of squares, so what I'm doing first is cutting some walnut and some maple into some symmetrical pieces. You can see my splitter here, and here's my featherboard that I needed for this process. I wanted my squares to be 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, but this is completely dependent on the wood you have and the size of the cutting board that you want. So watch out if you're starting with really long pieces of maple, because I found it really wanted to bow. It caused a problem later on with my dimensions that I had to fix, but I would recommend using shorter pieces of maple in the first place. I'm going to make the cutting board just shy of 4 centimeters thick, so every piece has to be cut down to 4 centimeters. That'll give me enough extra to plane flat and do some sanding. Feel free to do your measurement in inches here. We're not building rocket engines. I am really loving this table saw sled. It's just fun to use. So here's where I had to fix my dimension problem. Every single piece had to be recut twice down to a standard dimension, because one side of the maple was cut too narrow due to the bowing as I ran it through the table saw. I had that sinking feeling you get when you finish building a piece of flat pack furniture and you end up with a bunch of spare parts. I developed the design when I was cutting the pieces, but I didn't take a photo of it. It took a little bit of rearranging to figure out what I'd done. Not going to make the same mistake twice. Or 3 times. Glue up is a long process. There's no shortcut to this. Every single piece needs to get glue on it. I decided to do this in stages where I'd glue up 4 rows and then let them sit for a couple hours to dry up a little bit before continuing with the next 4 rows. That lets me apply some good pressure for that small section and avoid the chance of large gaps at the beginning if I were trying to do all the pieces in one go. I'm using a water-resistant wood glue here because as a cutting board, you're probably going to need to wash it every so often. It's not going to survive submersion for an extended period, but you want a really good lamination and you don't want that to separate just because it's absorbing water during the washing process. I put a little bit of extra effort in removing this block, and in reality what I should have done is maybe left it or laminated another piece on the end to prevent chipping as it goes through the planer. I'll show you what happens in the next step because I didn't have it on there. Now I've built this planer sled a while back. It's really handy. Lets me put some wobbly pieces through the planer by shimming up where the wobbles are. I don't have a jointer, so this acts a little bit like a jointer, and I wouldn't have a jointer that would work on this wide a piece anyway. So here's where the chipping occurs as you put your end grain piece through the planer, and it's completely preventable. All you need to do is laminate a piece onto the end. You're gonna trim off the end anyway, so laminating an extra bit of wood on there is no problem. I sanded it off a little bit and ran it through the planer, and I think it was okay. I didn't lose too much. Did I mention how much I'm liking this table saw sled? I'm rounding the edges here with a 1/8 inch round over router bit. You could do this with a sander, but this gives me a little bit more precision. Then it's time to sand. I start with 100 grit to get all the visible lines sanded off. And now I'm going to deal with some small gaps here that are left because the pieces aren't perfectly square, or I didn't have enough compression when I was doing the glue up. There are a few ways to do this. You could use epoxy, but I'm going to go old school and mix some sawdust from a scrap piece of walnut with some wood glue and press it in. Sanding to make the sawdust didn't feel very productive, so I switched to a file. It's a lot faster. And do the same for the maple. So up to 150 grit. Go all over the piece, get the edges as well. Then I hit it with water to raise the fibers before the next sand, which is done at 220 grit. Created this little bath for the cutting board. Gets a solid soak in mineral oil first. This is a cutting board mineral oil which is considered food safe, but it's functionally equivalent to unscented baby oil, just a lot more expensive. I let it dry for a couple of days after its bath, and then I give it this beeswax mineral oil blend to shine it up. Now I'm not Mr. Romance, but this looks almost as good as my table saw sled. Hey, thanks again for watching everyone, and we'll see you next time.